Bum bum bum. Oh, what's up, demons and demonettes? It is I, Traxy Demon Aka, and today we're going to be talking about a Baelran and if he's a Bala good or a Bala bad. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. I should mention that we are on the Pioneer server, and we will encounter bugs. There's some visual bugs, translation issues, that sort of thing. They're still present. They haven't been updated. Alright, so we're gonna take a look at his abilities first. Passive, very wordy. When a battle starts, Baelran gains a shield equal to 80% of his initial HP and receives 300% bonus max HP. So the way this is gonna play out in battle is it's gonna look like he has no starting HP, but he actually has a ton of HP at the start of battle. So you would think, oh, he's gonna be like targetable easily by execute enemies like an Odin, but that's just not the case. This bonus max HP does not raise his current HP and decreases by 2% every second. When Baelran is restored to his max HP, he spreads his wings, deals 10% damage to all enemies within 2 tiles, and enters a celestial form. While in celestial form, the bonus max HP no longer decreases, and his normal attacks strike all enemies within a 1-tile arc in front of him. Baelran is unaffected while receiving a bonus max HP and transitioning into celestial form. Baelran channels divine power into his blade, dealing 280% true damage to all enemies within a 3-tile arc in front of him. He then restores HP to 40% of the damage dealt by active strikes. So the big thing here is that when he enters his form, he's going to be unaffected. So there's a lot of passive control effects, I would say, in the game, kind of like Damien's Fear, Zelvina's Fear, Aaron Vacuum, Bonnie is Stun. A lot of that type of stuff is present, and that'll help, you know, he can kind of counteract that a little bit by being unaffected. Siren's Toss, Siren's Vacuum. Passive, Baelran restores 2% HP every second. While in a celestial form, his blade is permanently imbued with divine light, dealing an extra 1.5% true damage with each hit. Baelran knocks his target into the air with an upward slash, dealing damage. He then slams his sword down, dealing 300% damage to a 3-tile rectangle, and then it has a 2-second knockdown. Alright, Hero Focus just increases his haste. Alright, so the big one, it's the axe weapon, what everybody looks at. Again, wordy. When Baelran enters a celestial form, he fully regains the bonus max HP granted by a celestial rise. If he is restored to max HP again, he enters an enhanced celestial form, deals 10% true damage to enemies within 2 tiles, and becomes permanently unaffected, right? So this is huge, right? So now he's like, once this triggers, he's always going to be unaffected. Again, think about Siren in the Vacuum with the execute, very deadly in PvP, and now he's just going to be unaffected by that. When casting Celestial Rise, Baelran calls down a divine light to strike every tile within the affected area, dealing 6% true damage per strike. If the enemy is hit multiple times, the damage they take from successive strikes is reduced by 10%. And then the big one, at plus 15. When Baelran enters a celestial form, he dispels all debuffs on himself and permanently increases attack by 10%. Upon entering enhanced celestial form, Baelran calls down a divine light to strike every tile within 2 tiles of him, dealing a 10% true damage per strike to enemies hit. And then as enhanced force, the extra damage from Baelran's Sanctified Surge can also reduce the max HP of non-boss enemies by 70% of the damage dealt. The max HP reduction cannot exceed 40% of the target's max HP or 800% of Baelran's attack. Excuse me. Whichever is lower when fighting against boss enemies. The skill does not reduce max HP and says it causes them to lose 0.7 HP. Now, what does this all translate to? What is he good for? What is he not good for? So let's look at the usual suspects. We have stages. It makes them decent for stages. The health knockdown is better than Shimira's, but not good as like a Natsu, because we've seen like in last season, at the end of the season, where Natsu would just kind of like knock the health down to like almost nothing, and that made the Harrock stages easy. You're gonna see him in clear records of 4 stages here. However, you can clear it without him, so he's not required for stages. He's more of like he's like a side grade, we'll say. I haven't seen, now this is phase 2, I haven't seen infinite stages yet, so he may be really, really nice for infinite stages. I can't say, but he's a Celestial Hypo unit. We need more than just stages out of him, right? We need him to be good at something else. Stages isn't gonna drive us to pull a Celestial Hypo unit to a high level investment. At least with Kulu, we got the use in some stages. We got some utility in PvP up to help shut down those melee comps, and she's good on one boss in Dream Realm, kind of like a side grade to I think a Bonnie on the last fight, right? So we have that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you could do the stages with or without him. Not a big issue. Let's talk about Pre-Endless Dream Realm. He's not very good here. I ran several tests. So we have here Necro Dragon. So I just ran what is the current best comp. I ran what was the top comp for the difficulty prior to getting the levels up, and then I ran what was the prior best comp, which is actually the best comp, right? So right here is the number 1 comp. So as we can look at the damage numbers. The only person we're really going to replace here is Athalia, I think, in this comp, because Harrock just does so much of the damage here. It's big. His damage numbers are huge, right? So we're not gonna place Harrock as the number 1 damage dealer here. It would be a number 2 damage dealer for Athalia. And Sonya's here not as a damage dealer, but as a buffer. So we're not really going to be able to replace that with just pure damage numbers, because we're going to lose a damage on the Harrock numbers and the other hero that we buff. So if we look at here, so as you can see, his numbers are far less, like maybe we got a little bit more damage out of Harrock, but it's far less than Athalia. In this case, I already have Athalia heavily invested on my main account, so I won't be pulling Baelran for pre-enlist Dream Realm. Now, he does do a significant amount of true damage, as we have seen. However, true damage doesn't usually hold well in higher end in Endless Dream Realm. So if we do have a phase, like at the end of phase 2, where we're kind of stuck in this weird spot in Endless, where we can just kind of get there, and true damage is king, then yes, he has potential, but I don't know how long that window is going to be, and I don't know if that window is going to exist. And we have Harrock, who, you know, is going to be very, very hard to replace, just because he has high damage numbers. So I don't know that Baelran's necessarily going to be a must pull for Dream Realm. So that just leaves the PvP side of things. Now, the Pioneer is not the best place to test, because a lot of people just went ahead and buffed up all of their heroes to Paragon form. I did not. I wanted to do some more like mid-level type testing. So here we have like Athalia. We can see that he does not do anywhere near as much damage as like an Athalia. Athalia is still going to be your hyper carry in arena. So there's that. And so you can see even here, so I do go against a Paragon 3 Baelran here, and you can see I only have a Paragon for Shmira, so our Paragon levels are at or about the same here. There's no like big Paragon advantage, so you're gonna see that we kind of, I don't know if this is the best comp for him or not, but you can see that we still beat him, and his thing that he doesn't trigger in time to be unaffected. So his trigger might just be a little bit too slow to he get to that unaffected state for the current PvP environment, and that's not good, because then he just gets beat down, he doesn't trigger the unaffected, and he easily gets executed by like a Siren, who's a very popular arena hero that a lot of people are going to run in all forms, because he's just so powerful with his artifact shutdown ability. Dunlinger also cancels him out, because Dunlinger cancels his healing So if you run Baelran on a defense, you need to run, I guess, have to run him, you're kind of forced to run him with a Dunlinger to give him the, to run heal block on your Dunlinger to help prevent that from happening. Otherwise, the enemy just runs a Dunlinger with a heal block. He is a melee hero, so Kulu, again, can kind of shut him off and gives him problems. So in the current meta, he's just kind of, I want to say, mid. Yeah, he's kind of like a tool to have, and maybe you could use him to beat like a control team in Supreme Arena if the team's slow. If it's a fast team, he's just not gonna cut mustard. You know, I put him on defense in a friendly duel. I don't know that necessarily anybody's attacked me in a friendly duel. We do have some attacks since I updated, but the problem is here they went full Paragon 4, and you can see they're going to run a Dunlinger here, and it's just going to shut my Baelran down. Yeah, see, they run Cure Lock, so no heals, so he just kind of gets deleted, right? So we don't really get much out of that. So he's not, I don't think he's a very good defensive hero. He's primarily an offensive hero at this point, and I don't even think he's the best offensive hero. If I was just going to build one hero for PvP at this time from the Celestial Hypogean pool, I would still build Athalia over him. So as of now, barring any real like changes to his kits, what the devs proved they haven't do, is they would have to buff him to make him a little bit more viable and feel special. I just feel like in a world where we just got Athalia not too long ago, to release another Celestial Hypogean that's not on her level or close to her level for a PvP is gonna be an easy pass for a lot of people. I mean, we're at the point where we have a huge roster and a roster bloat issue, I would say. And if a hero doesn't add anything special, they're not really going to provide much. Now, my concern, and we'll find out in a couple days when he drops on a VN, is that for him to be provide more utility in a Dream Realm, if that's their goal, they're going to have to buff his numbers significantly so that he can out damage a Harak. And in that case, he may reach those broken levels for PvP. Just at this time, he just suffers from the same problem, is that the meta right now lends to speed, and very fast heroes, especially at Paragon 4, we have all that extra energy on hit. So the higher you go in Paragon levels, the quicker that PvP becomes. So Baelran at a high level doesn't really fit in the mix. So I spent a lot on Etheria Restart, wailing on that to start up my account, having a blast. Been looking to skip potentially a Celestial Hypo this season, especially if they're going to release a 3. I think we're going to have more and more skips coming. So for me right now, unless they buff him, he's an easy pass. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!